Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely pumped to have you here today. Look, if you've ever found yourself just staring blindly at a computer screen, mindlessly copying and pasting the exact same information from one window to another, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into the world of workflow automation using a seriously phenomenal tool called n8n. Drawing all our insights directly from the beginner's guide to mastering n8n, we are going to completely transform the way you handle repetitive digital tasks.
So, let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this. What is literally your most tedious, repetitive digital task? Think about it. Imagine you run an online store, right? Every single time a customer places an order, you have to manually copy their details into a spreadsheet, draft up a confirmation email, and send a message to your team's Slack channel. That might take, 5 minutes per order? At 10 orders a day, you're losing nearly an entire hour doing identical robotic work. And honestly, that is time you could be spending on a high-level strategy that actually requires a human brain.
The source material has this absolutely brilliant way of putting it. It says, imagine a small robot sitting at your computer. You set it up once. It runs forever. That robot is automation. And you know what? That is exactly what we are building today. The exact moment an order arrives, this tireless little digital helper instantly copies the data, fires off the email, and pings your Slack, literally all in under a single second.
All right, so here's our roadmap for this explainer. First up, we'll look at the power of automation. Second, why you should choose n8n. Third, we'll cover nodes and triggers. Fourth, passing data. And finally, building your very first workflow.
Okay, let's jump right into Section 1, the power of automation and why choose n8. Now, if you've dabbled in automation before, you've probably heard of tools like Zapier or Make. So, the really crucial point here is understanding how n8n actually compares. Zapier is incredibly beginner-friendly and it's cloud-only. But here's the catch. It charges you per task. That means every single action your workflow performs costs you money. And that gets expensive fast. Make is kind of similar. It's cloud-only and closed source. n8n, on the other hand, well, it's the power user's choice. It's totally open source, which means you can self-host it on your own server for absolutely free. No per-ask charges, no sneaky usage caps, and you get unlimited workflows. It's basically the ultimate combination of power, flexibility, and long-term cost savings. Moving right along to Section 2, Nodes, Triggers, and Workflows.
Okay, let's really dive into this. Think of a workflow as a giant digital recipe. It's a series of connected blocks, which we call nodes, that automate your entire process. In n8n, your data always flows from left to right. So it starts with a single trigger on the left and flows right on through a series of actions. Once you build this recipe and flip the switch to turn it on, n8n handles the whole execution automatically.
But wait, what actually starts this whole process? Well, that brings us to the trigger node. This is the absolutely mandatory starting point of your workflow. Think of it like an alarm clock that wakes up the automation when a very specific event occurs, because without a trigger node, nothing is ever going to run.
Right, so once that trigger wakes the workflow up, the data flows right into your action nodes. And these are the nodes that do the actual heavy lifting. An action node might read a row from a Google Sheet, send out a Gmail message, or even transform some messy data. And the real beauty of this? You can chain together as many of these action nodes as you need to complete your entire business process. It's like a limitless set of digital Lego blocks.
Let's break down the three main types of triggers n8n uses to wake things up. First up, we have schedule triggers. These run on a strict time basis, like every Monday morning at 9 a.m. sharp. Second, we've got webhook triggers. These are event-based and basically put your workflow into listening mode, reacting instantly when another app sends it an HTTP request, like when someone hits submit on a form. And third, app triggers. These fire off when a specific event happens inside a connected app, like a brand new email landing in your Gmail inbox.
That brings us to Section 3, passing data between apps. So we've got our nodes, we've got our workflow set up, but how do these individual blocks actually talk to each other? Well, when a trigger fires, data travels through the connecting lines on your canvas as structured items in a format called JSON. Now, do not let the technical acronym scare you. It's simply a way of organizing information using key-value pairs. The key is just the name of the information, like email, and the value is the actual data itself, like sarah@email.com. You seriously don't need to write a single line of code to use this, you just need to be able to read it.
Now, to actually pull that data out of a previous node, n8n uses these clever little things called expressions.
By wrapping your text in double curly braces, you literally just type curly brace, $JSON.email, you pulled dynamic data. So instead of hard-coding a single email address, you use an expression just like this to grab the specific customer's email address dynamically as it flows through the workflow. It's incredibly powerful stuff.
All right, here's the really fun part. Section 4, building your first workflow.
It is time to take all this theory and actually put it into practice with a super relatable business scenario. Picture this. A potential customer fills out a Contact Us form on your website. When that happens, 3 things absolutely need to happen. Their details must be saved to your CRM. We'll just use Google Sheets for this. They need to receive a personalized welcome email, and your sales team needs a notification in Slack. Historically, a human does all of this, but we are going to automate the whole shebang so no human ever has to do it manually again. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the data flows. Let's walk through the steps together. Step 1, a webhook trigger node instantly catches that form submission. Step 2, the data flows into a set node to be cleaned up and formatted. Step 3, it flows right into a Google Sheets node to append a brand new row to your CRM. Step 4, the data branches over to a Gmail node to send out that welcome email. And finally, Step 5, a Slack node posts the team notification. It flows left to right, smoothly from one step to the next.
Real quick, I want to highlight that set node from the pipeline we just looked at. The set node is basically like your personal data cleaner or editor. Let's say your web form captures first name and last name separately, but your Google Sheet just has one single column for full name. Well, you just use the set node to cleanly combine those 2 fields together before passing them along to Google Sheets. It just ensures the data is an absolute perfect shape for the very next app in the chain.
So let's look at what actually comes out the other side into Slack. Because we used those double curly brace expressions we learned about earlier, the notification that pops up in your sales leads channel isn't just some generic ping. It automatically pulls the dynamic data from the actual form submission. It'll literally say, new lead, Sarah Johnson from TechCorp, interest, pricing, email, sarah@email.com. It pulls the form data directly into the Slack notification flawlessly.
1. Single. Second. That is literally all it takes for all of this complex routing, catching the form, cleaning the data, updating a spreadsheet, emailing the customer, and messaging your team to happen completely automatically. Honestly, that is the true magic of automation right there.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, error handling and reliability.
Because, let's face it, the real world isn't perfect. APIs go down, people leave form fields blank, so how do we make sure our new little robot doesn't just break silently in the background? Well, the single most important tool n8n gives you for this is the error trigger. Think of this as your global safety net. You actually build a completely separate error handler workflow that uses this error trigger as its starting point. If your main workflow fails for literally any reason, maybe Google Sheets is temporarily offline, n8n instantly fires this separate workflow. You can set it up to send you an urgent email or a direct Slack message telling you exactly which node failed, so you never, ever lose a business process silently.
Wow, we have covered a ton of ground today. From understanding triggers and nodes, to passing JSON data, and even building a complete error-proof lead capture pipeline. I want to leave you with this final thought and question. Now that you know how to build your own small, tireless digital robot using n8n, what tedious task are you going to automate first? Start small, build out that first workflow, and reclaim your time. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. See you next time.